Ooh. Hey, John.
Welcome to the Thunder and Lightning Show. John the Son of Thunder here today with Breath of Fog. And we have a good show for you today. St. Gallen Mafia. Have you heard about them, Brett?
I think so, only since about 2013. And apparently they've been a going concern since like before 2005. Um,
Yeah, actually, I was just watching before I jumped on this show. I was watching Tim Gordon interviewed Julia Maloney, who just wrote the book on St. Gallen Mafia. And
right.
she was talking about, I believe she threw out 2001.
That sounds about right.
Was potentially when Bergoglio was introduced to Cardinal Martini. And
The spiritual
so,
father of the St. Gallen Mafia.
yeah, so that's sort of where it starts. I mean, it really does start with the spirit of Vatican II, but even earlier than that. But St. Gallen was really it was a group of cardinals who wanted to change the church, and
Yes.
they got their pope, and he wants to change the church.
It took them two conclaves, but they got it.
Yeah, well, in the first conclave, though, it seems as though they didn't necessarily get exactly what they wanted, but it
Sure.
seems like they got somewhat of what they wanted. So, would you like to talk about that a little bit, Brett?
Well, so apparently, um, as has been widely reported for years and years, the two people that the election in 2005 came down to were Ratzinger and Bergoglio. And Ratzinger ended up winning, of course, becoming Pope Benedict XVI. But Julia Maloney's thesis is that he didn't have that much of a lead. He had a little tiny lead. That would be Ratzinger. Had a little tiny lead. And one of the members of the St. Gallen Mafia, who of course is a cardinal, met with Ratzinger and said, listen, here like right now, we will make you Pope, but it's going to cost you. Um, you have to clear everything through us, and there's a sell by date. That is basically what she's alleging. She has a few people who say things. This is the Vatican. No one's ever going to go on a camera and say, "Yeah, I did this, I did this, I did this," because first of all, it's illegal. You can't. You can never talk about a conclave, and yet somehow we do. So there we were, and Bergoglio was sitting there waiting in the background, and then of course, um, Ratzinger has to resign, and Bergoglio gets on a plane and goes to Rome. And in the Stephen Riley article, he talks about how, or maybe it was the Julia Maloney review of her book, they talk about the first people he met were journalists like Andrea Tornelli, who, by the way, is, works for the Vatican in the press office now, and his buddy, and they both work in the Vatican press office now, and they did so, and that's because they knew somebody, the future pope, and apparently Bergoglio was right on top. He knew people didn't know him that well, and he wanted to say, "Hey, I'm healthy, I'm tanned, rested, and ready." That's what he wanted to say. And apparently, an article was put out, and everyone's like, all these cardinals from all sorts of places go, "Whoa, this Bergoglio, tanned, rested, and ready. Maybe we'll think of him instead of Ratzinger because, we've had, what, 38 years, not 38 years, but we've had a really long pontificate with John Paul II. And the last 2 years were pretty rough because, he was severely disabled with Parkinson's. So, there it is. I think there was definitely some, it's like anytime you have an office like that up for grabs, not everyone just gets together and says, "Yay, the next guy." That's just the nature of reality. And so Bergoglio, him and his, the people who already, of course, had their votes and they'd canvassed, before the conclave, before they got locked in. But, so it's against the rules that John Paul II, Saint John Paul II said. Well, saint, right? Yeah, saint. Um, According to the 1983 Code of Canon Law, which he wrote, well, which was promulgated under him, and of course his, I'm not Ryan.
The canonization process.
Yeah, the universal something Gregis, the rules of the conclave that he laid out, which apparently are more, much like Bergoglio would say, they're more like suggestions than actual precepts. But that's the kind of church Bergoglio, I would say, has led us to, a church of lawlessness and anarchy. But that's just me.
All right, I want to read some quotes here.
Please do.
There's a LifeSite News article, I've linked it down below, about this idea that Ratzinger met with Cardinal Martini and they kind of made a backdoor deal here. It said Pope Benedict, it alleges that he had a close bond with the leader of the St. Gallen Mafia, Cardinal Martini, and Martini repeatedly praised, or Benedict repeatedly praised Martini, Ratzinger / Benedict. So let's see. Ratzinger invited Martini to work with him at the CDF, Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith, in the 1980s. In 1995, he claimed that despite their differences, Martini complimented him. And in 2006, as Pope, he praised Martini in front of a group of young people. And so it looks like there was, kind of a relationship between Ratzinger and Martini, despite there's theological differences. I mean,
well, that's part of what they're talking about. That's part of what Julia Maloney is talking about. The theological differences aren't that different. Everyone likes to, not everyone, but there are certain people who say, Summorum Pontificum, the Latin Mass, Benedict, the rock of orthodoxy. And it's just not true. It's just not true. He loved. He was at Vatican II. This is all common knowledge. He was at Vatican II. He was one of the periti, one of the experts that bishops, consulted. He had a lot to do with what happened at Vatican II. He did express a very, very few regrets, but they said basically solid as a rock, good stuff. So he talked about things like, the Pope's office kind of needs to be expanded. He even had a proposal where we'd have not one, not two. There's my camera. Three Pope-a-dopes. Well, we're stuck with two, so,
Yeah, well, who knows? But
no, we do know. We have two popes. Just ask him.
Who knows what the future holds, though?
Yes. Well, we can go off on fairyland, and that's what we're going to do, because we are going to handicap the papal race, because whether you know or not, whether they tell us or not, 2022, I know nothing, but I don't think Bergoglio is going to be around by 2023. He did have major bowel surgery. And apparently he is, if he has not already, he will soon be receiving the third booster. And, good.
Well, he's not going to the climate conference, which is a really big thing for him.
Yes.
To miss it, he must be pretty shaky. He's going to miss something like that.
Yes, so, but he's very slick, as always, because now he's making noises about how he's going to go to Canada to, cry and apologize for, what Catholic Northman was talking about, the residential schools, for the First Nations, as the Canadians like to call them.
Well, I posted a tweet in reaction to that. I said, I'm sure Kennedy Hall and the rest of the Canada LifeSite crew won't be invited because they're probably not going to be triple jabbed at that point, or quadruple jabbed, whatever you come up with. But
didn't you say we're coming up all these? I don't want to discuss this subject because it's YouTube kryptonite. I just don't want to deal with it. So we'll just have to deal with part of the truth, and here we are. But it is my unconsidered, off-the-cuff opinion that Bergoglio will be gone by 2023.
All right.
Based on absolutely nothing. But
just a guess,
but Ed Penton's putting out a book. You know, no
Yeah,
reason.
and
No reason.
actually, we are going to get to that in the show. So hold your
I'm,
thoughts on
I'm
that.
skipping ahead. I apologize.
Yeah. So we're going to move forward. Why don't we go to? Well, I'm going to read a little bit of this. It became clear that a dramatic struggle between the St. Gallen group and Ratzinger supporters took shape during that 2005
Yes.
conclave, and it was so. After Ratzinger was elected, Cardinal Martini said, "Expect surprises." That's a direct quote from Cardinal Martini. Now, who does that sound like?
Sounds like the vicar of the God of surprises himself, Jorge Bergoglio.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it sounds, and I think, do you think 2007, was it '07 or '08, Summorum Pontificum? You think that was a surprise?
that was a good question. I think it was '08.
Yeah, I mean, because I was looking at this information in the context of Benedict's papacy, and so I don't really recall a whole lot of what he did. He did appoint some good bishops. He
And
appointed some,
some
yeah,
terrible ones.
some bad ones as well, for sure.
Yes.
And I think maybe that was part of the compromise,
There you
because what
go.
was Cardinal Marx? Is that Benedict? Is that a Benedict cardinal?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, so I mean, you're just looking at a few, like some examples there, and so I think maybe in the context of that, but then Summorum Pontificum is kind of like an outlier there.
You know, that's how I feel about it. I think it's an outlier, just like Humane Vitae is an outlier for Paul VI. Um, these guys, I think, in the far mist of time, 100, 200 years from now, assuming that, people are still studying the history of the Catholic Church, that they'll say, well, there was Paul VI and he promulgated Humane Vitae, and there was Benedict and he promulgated Summorum Pontificum, and that's it. That's going to be it. That's what they'll be remembered for. Oh, and of course, Benedict will be remembered for.
All right, so let's fast forward to 2013 when Benedict resigned,
Yes.
and I, I think you mentioned it before that, but Cardinal Martini basically maybe he said, well, we didn't do what we wanted, so get out. And
Well, mhm, yes, and I think he had some serious muscle. I really think there was some serious muscle behind him because you have to remember the president of the United States was Barack Obama at the time, who as we know, worked hand in glove with the American intelligence services to do all sorts of things, which are the subject of major bones of contention in our republic right now. But there is much supposition that one of the things he had done was to spy on the conclave, which would have been pretty easy, especially with the cooperation of the Italian intelligence services, which really work pretty closely with the American, just like the English do. Um, so, I think they knew what was going on, who was voting for who. I think there was a lot of, and of course, why were we there in the first place? The theory is that um, the SWIFT system. Do you remember the SWIFT system?
I don't remember it offhand. It
It's
does
it's
ring a
internet.
bell.
It's international money transfer system,
Okay.
and it's run frankly through the United States. And they first, under Barack Obama, decided to flex a little soft power because Switzerland, famous for their banking secrecy laws, didn't want to share data with the United States and put it on the SWIFT system. Barack Obama said that no longer applies. If you want to use SWIFT, you better give us the information. And after a reasonable period, the Swiss gave in. Now, Switzerland's a pretty, there's more than 800 people in Switzerland, but there aren't more than 800 people in the Vatican. So when apparently one of the things happened is like, oh, literally the story, and it's always stories and suppositions, is that the ATM stopped working. Like you couldn't transfer money in or out, not to the Vatican Bank, not to the ABSA, none of it. And it's like they said, well, if you leave, we can fix this. That supposedly happened. We don't have any solid proof, but we do know there was a swift contretemps exactly when he resigned. We do know that.
No, I did actually. I might have read that before, but I don't remember. So that's really interesting information.
You'll have to check it out. You'll have to check it out. But you know, we can't investigate. You know, now we have a whole book by Giulio Maloney about one of several books, by the way, about the St. Gallen Mafia. Just keeps coming up. People keep on going back to it. But you know who can't? You know who has no interest in the St. Gallen Mafia? Catholic bishops, Catholic cardinals, none, zero. Not Burke, not Schneider, the bishop, not Cardinal Power of Silence Sarah, not Lenga, who is Schneider's boss. Nobody is even willing to touch that third rail.
Well, and I'm just reading a clip from the article. It says that Cardinal Martini in June 2012, he told Benedict it was time to hard fact evidence. This is all speculation, but
exactly.
He said he stated in January that I hope he will resign soon, and then whenever before Benedict resigned in 2012, Cardinal Casper from Germany?
Yes.
He started talking about a southerly wind that was blowing in the church. So, Argentina? Yeah. That's pretty far south.
Yeah.
So, they knew it. They knew what they were doing.
That's what Giulio Maloney is alleging. And God bless her. That's because, it's that whole sad tale that apparently Archbishop Sheen said a long time ago. It's not going to be up to the cardinals or the bishops or even the priest. It's going to be up to the laity.
Unfortunately,
that it is, and we're the ones with the least. We're the ones with the least leverage.
Yeah, and actually, I want to pull up a quote on Twitter here. What I want to do, there's another article I linked, and it was about Bergoglio's association with the St. Gallen Mafia, and it does talk about what you were saying about Tornielli, the Italian journalist, and how he dined with Bergoglio. And
yes.
He wrote an article saying, I believe this was before Francis was elected.
It was.
He said he quoted an anonymous cardinal. It said 4 years of Bergoglio would be enough to change things. Well, the anonymous cardinal, it could have been McCarrick, because McCarrick said that in a speech at Villanova, probably still on YouTube.
Yes.
And
he's out on $5,000 bail, by the way. Goes back to court December 21st.
Well, I don't know that he's really much of a threat to anyone anymore in terms of like.
Well,
but
he does have a lot of money, and I think that would be great to get it. And he is and frankly, and by the way, he's still not excommunicated. Just saying.
All right. Well, I know the good Bishop Tobin. He posted a tweet. Let's see if I can share this. I do want to share my screen, and I don't know if I'll be able to do that or not. So bear with me here.
No,
I don't think so.
Come on, make it work. I'm going to watch Taylor Marshall if you can't do it.
All right, so let me just go here. All right, so Bishop Tobin, the good Tobin, compared to Cardinal Tobin in Newark, New Jersey. Now I say good Tobin. We'll leave that up to the viewers to decide.
How about the better Tobin?
The better Tobin, yeah, that's a good one. He said, if you're the church has lost its prophetic voice, where are the John the Baptist who will confront the Herods of our day?
Look in the mirror, pal. Look in the mirror.
Yeah, I know John the Son of Thunder responded to him, but I'm not sure if I've seen that quote. But John the Son of Thunder said, hey, you're a bishop. You can do that. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that would be. I think there's just a suggestion there. Why don't our bishops say something? Like here he is complaining like, oh well, we need a John the Baptist. Well, you know what? Bishop Strickland's talking a good game. Why don't you combine forces with him? I mean, you get five, you get even 10 bishops talking about this stuff, and there's gonna be a big group rallying behind them. And that's what I've been saying for years, but it hasn't happened. And there's a UNCCB meeting coming up in a few weeks, and guess what? You could have a few bishops talk about, denying Joe Biden communion, excommunicating Joe Biden, any of these things. You could have a few of them talk about that, and it would rally a bunch of people,
Not
maybe
happening.
even a bunch of bishops.
Not happening.
All it takes is one.
It takes more than one.
All it takes is one to get these bishops fired up, though. You just get a leader, and all these bishops, they decide to stick up for the Catholic faith. It's what would I say? It's a very theoretical concept because it's not likely to happen, but it should. I mean, it's not hard to do.
It's not hard to do. I wish more of these bishops were like one of my favorite bishops, Bishop Bransfield, formerly of the Diocese of Wheeling, Charleston. Now, what he did was, of course, horrific in many, many respects. But one of the things he did is he squirreled away tons and tons and tons of money. I mean, millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. He had to give like 400,000 of it back. So let's say Better Tobin does that. Let's say he does that. He just starts saying, hey, it's a corporation soul. I'm in charge of it. I'm giving myself a big old budget. And then he says, and by the way, Bergoglio, you're a terrible person, and we're not, and we're not going to take it anymore. And what does Bergoglio do? Well, of course, he fires him. What does Tobin do? He goes to his beautiful, fancy second home and says, hey, this is great. And Bergoglio, you're still a jerk. What if 10 people did that? 10 being the biblical number, Sodom and Gomorrah and all that. Ooh, Sodom and Gomorrah, remember them? Yeah.
Not a lot of people do. Or at least, anyway. Moving on. Are you ready to talk about candidates for the next papacy? Before we do that, we were talking pre-show here, and we said, so we talked about the St. Gallen Mafia, and they're kind of old news. A lot of them have died. Most of them are in their 80s or 90s that are still alive.
Right.
And they're out. Like, they got their guy, and they're gone. And so is there a new St. Gallen Mafia? And
there has to be. There has to be. Everyone saw that approach worked. So, and what happened to the members of the St. Gallen Mafia? They got their man in the office. They're promoted. Life is great. So, it's going to happen again. Now, Marco Tossati believes it's going to be, what is that Italian organization? And I cannot remember the name of it, but there's an Italian organization. Cardinal Zuppi is a member of it, and he believes that is the new St. Gallen Mafia.
Interesting you say that, because I have a link to Ed Penton's article about his book called The Next Pope.
Yeah.
And Cardinal Zuppi's listed there. Before I get to that, I want to talk about this book. I didn't read the book, and so people are going to say, oh, you need to read the book. Whatever. I don't want to spend $20 on a book. I'm sorry. I mean, unless it's the Bible or something,
Right. But, or a missal, John. A missal. Just saying.
Well, if I could find a $20 missal, I'd sure buy it. But
well, you know how
if
much
you can find me a missal for less than $60, I'd be shocked. Anyway.
I consider that a challenge. You know how much I paid for my last one?
How much?
Where am I? 0, baby.
You got connections.
Yeah, I guess. Not really, but it just sort of happened that way. But but if I happen on one, it's got your name on it.
Well, I appreciate that. Anyway,
no worries.
So I was saying I didn't read the book. I wanted to read the summary because the thing is, when we do these discussions, we could be waiting for 5 years. I mean, it's a possibility. It's not likely, but it's a possibility. And so based on the names that we talked about today, all of them could be irrelevant in 5 years. But
5 years? Oh, no. There's no 5. No,
well,
no,
I mean, look
no
at Parowan. Look at Parolin. Does he
Uh-huh.
have a chance of Pope? What about Becciu?
Okay. Does Parolin have a chance? No.
But he
He is.
did.
He did, but he doesn't now.
Yeah.
Bet you, he would have to be rehabilitated either by Francis or by, well, Francis would have to rehabilitate him. That's not beyond the bounds of possibility. I love to watch those two. Those two really, really savage operators going after each other. Now, the Pope, of course, has the high ground. He's the Pope, and Becciu was a cardinal. Now he's sort of a fake cardinal, and he's not allowed to be Pope anymore. I don't even think he's
Yeah.
allowed. I don't even think he's allowed to vote. He can go, like, hang out. Hey guys.
Hey guys.
Hey guys. Remember when I used to vote? Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they'd be like, "Oh, yeah."
But I refuse to count him out. I think he's got. I look at those two guys as like two guys with matches standing in a pool of gasoline, and they both know that they'll both go if one of them drops the match. But bet you he just seems overmatched at this point because don't mess with Bergoglio. Just
Well,
don't do it.
Becciu's got to know something though.
Oh, absolutely he does. No doubt in my mind he knows about it. Look at all the things he did know about that he's getting called out on because Bergoglio sold him down the river and is putting in a kangaroo court to get rid of him. And everyone's saying, oh, this is kind of a kangaroo court. Well, yes, it is. But I'm the Pope. I can do what I want. Remember?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So why? Here's my first. Whenever I first heard about Ed Penton releasing this book, it's called I think it's titled "The Next Pope: Leading Papal Candidates." First question is, why did he release this book? Like, to me,
he's Ed Penton. He's a very good Vaticanista. We rely on his reporting for a lot of things. He knew something. That would be my guess.
I guess, but it was.
Yeah.
Let me see the date on when this was posted. It was not. I mean, it was a while ago. July 22nd. Oh, I guess that wasn't that long ago.
Oh, it was right after. It was right after the Motu Inappropriate.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, and I guess that I wasn't really paying attention too much to the timeline, but
no, we weren't. We were busy going.
it felt like it was. It felt like it was last year almost, and we're just in November, and that was July. So I mean, that's how much stuff changes. That's how much news goes on. It even fooled me, and even though I was preparing for this show. Now, I think with Ed Penton releasing this book, I felt like maybe he could have just done a long article on it. But anyway, make a little money off of it,
Sure.
And so I'm gonna start. What?
Nothing.
Anyway, I'm gonna start naming the names. So he has Parolin listed, and then we have Cardinal Turkson of Ghana.
You like him?
Well, I think people say now, and this is really just more of what people are saying. They say we need African cardinal. I say if you get if you think that an African will be elected cardinal, it will be Cardinal Turkson.
Not Sarah?
No, he has Cardinal. Yeah, I say Cardinal. It's Sarah. Cardinal Sarah. I usually say Sarah, but that's how it's pronounced. But Sarah has no chance.
Really? So why do
I'm
you
going to say that right now.
You just did. Why?
I guarantee you. And if he is elected Pope, come back here, comment on this video.
Oh,
it's because I believe it is my belief that Cardinal Sarah has supernatural faith.
And they don't want.
And so he will not be elected as Pope, and he's not going to be intimidated like Benedict. Because traditionalists have criticized, trads have criticized Sarah. I have too.
Absolutely, yes. For
his blind obedience, and he has blind obedience to the Pope, more or less. He'll cower
more.
Yeah, pretty much. He'll basically back down from anything he says if Pope Francis says, if Pope Francis goes against it, he'll back down. Now,
well,
with this obedience, I personally think that he would expect obedience if he were Pope.
I agree.
And so, if it comes to this LMNOP stuff that the Germans are pushing, or any of this stuff, women priests, he would say no. That's absolutely not going to be the case. And he might even throw a few of those infallible declarations out there. Women can never be priests.
Oh, you mean the one that John Paul II ran right up to the line, but then couldn't quite cross it?
I think Seurat would cross it, and he would lean on JP2's statement and say this is fully in line with a Vatican II Pope, plus all of this other Catholic tradition that we have.
You mean 2,000 years? Yeah.
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 So I think that he would. I think that he would be a very good Pope, in my opinion. Now, I don't think he'd completely ban the Novus Ordo, but I think
loves it.
I think that for a traditionalist, but I think that the Novus Ordo, he'd turn the priests around, so that they were, so that all the priests were saying Mass ad Orientem. I could see that.
That would be nice.
I would see a massive expansion in the Latin Mass. He would fully liberate the Latin Mass, free it up completely, and even extend some more in Pontificum potentially. But this is all theoretical, and I don't know why I'm spending so much time talking about it, because he has no chance of being elected Pope for those reasons. If you look into it, I believe that's what he would do, and so that's why he's not going to be Pope. I'm sad to say, but that's just the facts. I'm sorry. It's gonna be Turkson if there's an African elected Pope. And if you want to say, oh, you know what you could say is if Turkson's not elected Pope, you could say, oh, well, they're racist. You know, I mean, kind of like
and sexist.
I guess.
And homophobes. Oh well, not so much, but yeah.
Well, but let's. Do you have anything on Turkson? I mean, do you want to say anything about?
Well, the only thing is, whenever he seems a lot. He just seems like he just seems like that guy that sticks his finger in the air and gives the front office what they want. And I think he is ambitious, and I think he wants to be Pope. So there's that.
Yeah,
and he spent the time in the Vatican, which is
he is. Yeah, he definitely has a high position in the Vatican, and he has been really into this eco-theology lately.
Because that's what Bergoglio's into.
Yeah, I don't know what he actually believes, but
neither does he. He believes whatever Bergoglio tells him to believe because he's Papal like many people of all stripes and hierarchies in the Catholic Church.
And I guess the biggest wild card in any of these situations is what will these guys do when Francis is not Pope? That's going to be a huge question, because do they actually believe the garbage that they're spouting out of their mouths? Do they actually believe in this environmental crap and everything?
No. They and a fine example is Mark Ouellette of Canada when he was promoted under Ratzinger, under Benedict. Oh, he couldn't be more traditional. He was like, great guy, he's Mr. Tradition. And then, woo, whip, Bergoglio came. It's like, oh yeah, he couldn't wait to. Who was he? Threw Seurat under the bus. Couldn't wait to do it either. You're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see these guys, and especially with the toxic legacy that Bergoglio personally and doctrinally is leaving. Yeah, you're going to see a lot of people run away. Even if they agree with it, they're going to run away.
We've kind of seen that with Traditionis Custodes. Some of his top cardinals, I believe even Zuppi.
They think it's too far.
Yeah, I think he was just like, I'm not so sure about that. Like, whoa, okay. So
you got to sneak up on people and hit them over the head. You can't just hit them in the face. They don't like that.
Yeah,
that's the distinction, I think.
All right, so I'm gonna skip away from Ed Penton's next Pope candidates at this, for just a short time here, because I'm going to olbg.com, the sports betting community. I don't know how legit they are, but it was the first search that came up on Google.
Yes.
And it was the odds for the next Pope. That's not really a sports betting.
That's more like it. Money. That's what I want to see. Yeah.
All right, so we have a four-way tie right now. The betting odds are 7.0. I don't really understand what the betting odds are. Maybe it's 1 out of 7. That's too much. 1 out of 7, 1 out of 9. I don't know. But anyway, it has Turkson tied with Cardinal Tagle from the Philippines, Cardinal Ouellette from Canada, and Cardinal Scola from Italy. I would drop Ouellette. I don't think Ouellette has much of a chance.
I dropped Scola. He's really, really old.
He's old. He's like 80, isn't he? He's not even eligible to vote.
He's almost 80. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So
this is from September. I mean, these guys don't even know what they're talking about. They have Cardinal Burke and Cardinal Dolan on this list. No way.
No way. Now,
no chance.
We may have to sit down and actually do this. I mean, actually sit down with pen and paper and figure this out because, some of these people, non-starters. Burke,
if any of you
non-starter.
If any of you have sports betting, if any of you know anyone affiliated with sports betting websites, have them contact us. We'll do an in-depth investigation and give you some better odds than that. I mean, they're like I said, I say Syrah has no chance. Burke has even less of a chance.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
and actually Burke is mentioned on Ed Pettin's list, but he mentions Tagle. Let's talk a little bit about Tagle. So he's from the Philippines. He's very young. Let me see how old he is, actually.
He's in his 50s, I believe. Much like John Paul II.
64. Wow, he's older than I thought.
Well, but he has good dance moves.
Snapping with the youths. 64. I was actually a lot older than I expected, but Francis really seems to like him. He promoted him pretty quickly up the ladder. And
he did. He brought him in because he was never going to. You don't have a chance of being Pope if you don't hit the Vatican. You just don't.
Well, and I still don't think he has a chance of being Pope. I don't know how much they like him. His fellow Cardinals think that he would make that good of a Pope. I don't know. I mean,
I don't. Yeah, well, it's not about that. It's not who's going to be the best Pope. I wish that's what it was about, but that's not what it's about. It's about which way do we want the church to go? And is Tagle the man to get us there? If you're like the Sant Gallen Mafia or their successors, Tagle's pretty good. Plus, you're going to be in charge for a decent amount of time. They said 4 years will be good. Try 24. See how good that is.
Well, see, to me, Tagle just seems like a yes man almost.
He is a yes man.
So then if you have a traditionalist that comes to him and says, hey, can we have a Latin Mass? You'd be like, oh, yeah. Like, I don't think that he would.
No, he'll listen to the same people that Francis does.
All right. That'd be interesting to see. I don't know enough about Tagle that.
Well, supposedly he has a gambling problem.
Yeah, well, you can easily blackmail. And that's why, yeah. But I did want to backtrack here. And I keep backtracking, but I actually forgot what I was going to say. Let's move on.
Front tracking. Let's go.
Oh no, I remembered. Okay, it was about Cardinals. We're expecting a consistory of Cardinals any day now. Wouldn't it be ironic? Not ironic, but wouldn't it be? You know what I'm thinking here, right? That there might be one on Sunday.
Oh yeah.
In honor of the pagan and satanic holiday, Halloween.
Oh, well, yeah.
Wouldn't that make a lot of sense?
There wouldn't actually be a consistory. They would announce the names.
Okay.
And then everyone's got to get over to Rome, and run up and wait outside of Benedict's door, for the second blessing. I mean, they could release those names. See, if the sooner he does that, the more we know he's in a hurry. But he already has 121 voting Cardinals. You only need 120. So what's the rush?
He wants more. He does one every year.
Yeah. He likes. And now, did you read about Braun Mueller, the Dubia brother, and his proposal for changing the rules of papal election, which I think is very interesting? He said he basically says 120 is too many. He says it should go back to 70, which Sixtus number whatever said, or even less. Now, And of course, since the 20th century, and with the advances in technology and travel, excuse me, they've been spreading cardinals all over the world, trying to make it just not an Italian church, not just a Roman church. So they've been bringing in cardinals from all over the places, like the United States, like Argentina, like Brunei. So, but the thing is, you bring in somebody from Brunei, and what do they know about the Vatican? Nothing. Nothing. They're in Brunei. They have 80,000 Catholics there. Why is he a cardinal? We don't know. And then he'll get there and he'll be like, golly, is this the Colosseum? So that's not very useful. So Brandmüller's proposal is that you have to have had worked in the Curia for at least 5 years before you would be eligible to be Pope. So that would be the rules. 65, let's say 60, conclave of 60, you have to have worked 5 years. That's his proposition, which has approximately no chance of. Well, he'll get the answer to that before he'll get the one to the dubia that him and Burke proposed. So there's that.
Yeah, there's positives and negatives to his proposition. He had a lot of other proposals in there too, and I don't know. I think probably he's mostly right.
He's what?
He's mostly right. I would think. I agree.
Those are logical premises. Are they the correct premises? That's one of those things you'd have to have a discussion about. Nobody's going to talk about it with him. So, no one.
Yeah.
I don't think any traditionalists are really fired up about it. I don't think any Bergoglians are fired up about it. I don't think anyone cares. It's like, okay, thanks, Cardinal.
Well, because it's not going to happen. Yeah, but
yeah, it isn't. He has.
I mean,
he has no mojo. He's got no juice. He's nobody. He might as well be the Cardinal Brunei.
All right, so we are going to move to Cardinal Zuppi,
yes,
as listed in Ed Pettin's.
That's my man.
List.
I think he's the guy.
Okay, and I believe he's in his early 70s. Let me see if I can find him here. Hold on, Zuppi. 66. Okay, a lot.
Oh yeah, 66. And guess what? Guess who's going to vote for him? Every Italian cardinal, without exception. I think and if they're not, they should be panicking about losing control of the Curia and the papacy for so long. It's been what, since 1979 that there's been a pope in Rome who's from Italy. Not a good thing. And he keeps on creating cardinals and putting the hats out in all these other far-flung places. And, there's one in Milan, but is there one in Ferrara? That sort of thing. It's like they're getting squeezed out. And I think I think the right guy could come to them and say, we need to stick together. And we need to persuade every other, all the other cardinals, or enough of them, that after this pontificate, we need stability. We need someone who knows what the hell's going on, not any on-the-job training, not coming in from the end of the world. We need a solid guy, and Zuppi is the guy. That's what I think.
Okay, well, it seems like that's a pretty safe bet, and I see that. I don't know that I set the settings to allow comments on the live stream.
I don't think you did, because I don't see any, and I was kind of hoping that. Oh, great! Now we'll never know. We'll never know.
I'm gonna try to get that set up here. Let's move on to the next one.
Okay.
Oh, he has. All right. So Penn has. I'm just gonna list off some of these guys.
Please.
Conservative candidates. So we shouldn't even talk about that because none of them have any chance. But he has Cardinal Gerhard Mueller.
Oh no.
Cardinal Scola.
No, too old.
And then Angelo Bagnasco. I don't know who he is.
I don't know who he is. I've heard the name. I've seen the name. Don't know anything about him.
But those guys, they have absolutely no chance. And yeah, there's that. So, where are we at? I'm trying to do a whole bunch of different things at once.
Well, all right.
He has Syrah listed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And then he has Malcolm Ranjith
Yes,
of
he's
Colombo, Sri Lanka.
right. He's
So,
busy
how old
trying
is
to.
he?
I don't know, but he's busy with the Muslim bombers in his country. You remember when they blew up all
Oh,
the.
yeah.
And of course, he's been stiffed by the Muslims and the government for years now, and that's I don't see him because of that. I don't see him being a serious contender. He's got other fish to fry. I just
He's
don't see it.
73 years old, so
Yeah.
not terribly old. Certainly well within the
And
age range.
and I don't
Being
know. Has he ever been to the? He's ever been to Rome? He's ever been to the Curia, or is he just? I mean, he probably has. I would assume, or I assume Ed Pettin wouldn't put him in. We're relying on you, Ed. We're relying on you.
Okay, so I have this set to public. I don't know what the deal is here.
The deal is no one's watching. That's the deal.
Well, I guess
we
so.
love you. But we love you anyway. That's the deal. But they will watch it and they'll be excited. Hopefully, we'll see what happens, and then I may have to disappear in the fog. We'll just see how that all rolls around. And go back to someone who knows what they're talking about, like Ryan the retrograde. But
Yeah, well,
I'm
sorry, guys.
Ryan.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, guys, that if it's not working. I tried to do things differently this time around, and it looks like it might not actually work. If you're there, try to leave a comment in the chat, but otherwise, there's nothing we can do unless I go to edit this. Oh, here we go. All right, let me set it.
All right.
All right, so now I'm gonna liberate you guys. Oh, it's scheduled for the future.
Loose
it's
the
scheduled
dogs of
in.
war.
Okay. Well, I can't do that. All right, no comments today. That's disappointing because usually the live chat's pretty active. I really apologize. This was my mistake. I set it up a certain way, and yep, that's that. No comments. I can't really do anything about it. I apologize. This would have been really good to see everyone's opinions too.
It would have, because I got plenty of those. not necessarily good ones, but I have them.
Yeah.
Not that I was going to get into a flame war like Ryan did the other day, but I like that.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that, actually. But
okay, well, the next one.
Let's move on.
Not on the list are 4 of 6 current Cardinal advisors. Oh, well, okay. Cardinal Marks is actually pretty young.
No chance. He already fake resigned once, and he's got to deal with all that mess in Germany. Nah, not happening. Not happening. You need to find like the most conservative, because they did say Welke of Cologne, Welke from Cologne. They thought he might, but apparently he's not making the grade. He's kind of he's kind of in the shade right now because of this. But
yeah,
conservative from Germany has a chance, because some of these fire eaters, and let's have women and boys, and none of that's going to go. None of that's going to go in Africa. All those people in Africa, you want to talk about a block, they're going to be like, nah, we're not having it. Turks is going to be their only vote, and everybody else in Africa is going to say negatory.
Yeah, another German pope. I don't know. You ready
there
for that?
There you go. And you're absolutely right. Another German pope. Might as well have an Italian. Doesn't have to move as far.
All right, so I did something interesting here. I went to Wikipedia and I sorted the cardinals by age.
Mm-hmm.
And we have some in their 50s. I can just read off the countries. There's Central African Republic, Portugal, Italy, Poland, and Tonga. And so the 2 from Italy are Cardinal Mauro Gambetti and Cardinal Augusto Logiudice, 56 and 57 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Gambetti, Vicar General for Vatican City, and he is an OFM Franciscan. Some of them are interesting.
Shaky. Shaky.
Yeah, now he's pictured on his Wikipedia profile. He's pictured with like a polo or a button-down shirt.
Oh yeah, good. Yeah.
So certainly
Just
fits
like
right
Saint
in.
Francis, just like Saint Francis wore.
Yeah, exactly. Certainly fits right in with the Jesuits. You know? And then there's a Franciscan from the Congo, 61 years old, and then we're getting into more of, we got Brazil, Uruguay, India, Haiti, Rwanda, Luxembourg, Canada, and that takes us to age 64.
Mm-hmm.
Tagle is 64, and then Malta.
I
There's a
like it.
Gretsch.
I like the cutout there. I like the 64. I like that as the cutoff. I don't think they want to do a 59-year-old who's going to be there for 20 years. I really don't. I don't think anybody. I mean, it's easy to get people to vote for him, just like Bergoglio. It's like, well, I'm healthy enough to do it, but I'm not so healthy that I'm going to be here for 8 years, which of course he is. But
Well, you have Zuppi, who's 66.
mm-hmm. That's a good age.
But what about Mario Gretsch, age 64, from Malta?
What a horrible, horrible man. I think he's a contender. I think he's a big contender.
Yeah.
If the Francis group at the St. Gallen Mafia II prevails, someone like Gretsch will definitely become the Pope. Horrible.
Now Zuppi, Cardinal Zuppi did write a foreword for Father James Martin's Building a Bridge book. And so
resume enhancement.
There you go. I mean, you know where he stands on that, and if you have a Pope Zuppi, then
who knows?
Maybe that one of these rumors will be true of Father James Martin getting the promotion. I don't think any of them have been. I mean, there's a rumor that he would be named Archbishop of Philadelphia. I was like, I don't know who came up with that.
We already have an Archbishop of Philadelphia, Perez, and he just got there. Yeah. He just left behind his scandal in Cleveland, and now he is, now he is in Philadelphia, where at least he allows the Latin Mass and the sacraments, unlike, certain other bishops in Pennsylvania. Not naming any names much.
Yeah. There's not a lot of cardinals under age 70.
Right. Yeah,
I mean, that's typically how it is, but I think a lot, like some of them would have the most chance, like you were saying about they don't want to mess around and name someone who's only going to be a pope for a few years.
33 days.
Well, I think that's a little bit of a different situation.
Oh, so what do you? Do speculate. What do you think happened to John Paul I?
I don't think it was a natural cause of death. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. That's all we're asking.
Well, there is another name, Jean-Claude Hollerich of Luxembourg.
Mm-hmm.
I think S.J.
Oh, there it is. Now there's a question. Will it be another Jesuit? That's the question. And there are plenty of Jesuit. I mean, there is a decent amount of Jesuit cardinals these days, although they're not supposed to be, but and Jesuit bishops. So will they get together and try to keep the papacy? It's an interesting question. At least interests me anyway. And just imagine, Pope Francis, for what it's worth, is pretty good about wearing the outfit and wearing the uniform. We have a black pope become the pope again. Who knows? Could be Sansa slacks and what are those fine shirts? Polo shirts.
Polo shirts.
And Sansa slacks. Yeah. It could be. We'll see.
Look like you're going out for a day on the driving range.
Yes. Well, that's when you pray. Right before you tee it up. Pray. That's when you really get those serious prayers going. Go straight.
Well, yeah, and that'd be pretty funny. Who else? I'm just looking through this list. I don't really recognize a whole lot of names under 60. There is one from Canada, Cardinal Gerald Lacroix from Quebec, 64 years old.
Did dear.
So yeah, that's pretty interesting. And Canada actually was a Catholic country that
Well,
back in the day.
especially Quebec was a totally Catholic. Quebec was totally Catholic. I mean, like
Yeah,
95% or something. It was crazy. And they've been busy, busy destroying the faith up there since the Winnipeg Statement, and they've pretty much succeeded in many, many ways. Um, Father Bart Goring, Father Anthony Hannon, they're all still there. God bless them.
yeah. And then I'm looking at Cardinal Conrad Krajewski of
Oh
Poland,
yeah, you
age
gotta have
57.
him. And he's the papal almoner. He's the guy that gives. He's the guy that stole power for the communists who had taken over a building in Rome. He's the guy that arranges like the ice cream and the pizza and the trips to the beach. Oh yeah, that would be a total Bergoglian pick. And the church would be in horrific shape if that happened, but it could happen. It's not likely. I mean, there are a lot of people that are like, no, we've had enough. We've had enough stunts for the last 8 years. We need solid. I really think they're going to need someone who can at least be passed off as conservative. That's what I think.
So what are the chances it's a no-name guy, one of the people that I passed by and said I have no idea who they are? I mean,
pretty good. Did you know? Did you even hear of Bergoglio before he was elected?
I probably knew. I might have known the names of like 3 to 5 Cardinals at that point.
Right. Exactly.
So I mean,
but this is the age of the internet, so we do have some advantage. But like I said, we don't know who the new St. Gallen Mafia is. It could be, it could always be a dark horse candidate. Like, especially if you have two guys that will not back down. You've got, I don't know, let's have fun. Let's have Surratt and Kashevsky. And they just, they just won't get that 2/3 majority. And they're like, hey, let's go with my favorite guy, the Cardinal from Bernay. Yeah, let's do him. I think he passed away, by the way. I don't.
And then you get a complete wild card.
Yeah, it can happen. It has happened, and it happens many times in political history. Will it happen this time? I don't think so, because with Biden in the presidential office and whoever's controlling him, Obama, and I think the American administration is going to have a lot of say in who the next pope's going to be, and so will Klaus Schwab and George Soros and all that crew, and Chairman Xi. They're all going to be there. They're all going to be putting pressure on. They want someone who's acceptable to them. They don't want to give up this stranglehold that they have on the Catholic Church from the top. They just don't. So there's another bunch of players who are going to they're going to be on the field. No one's going to talk about them, but they're going to be on the field.
Yeah, and Jeffrey Sachs is another one. Maybe he'll have a say in who's the next pope anyway.
As I mentioned to you, I think he might make the consistory. I don't know. Is he married?
I don't know.
Well, we should check into that.
That'd probably help, huh?
I don't think so. I think it's no. Excuse me. No, I don't think so. But we should check it. If he's not married, well, he could be the guy. He could be a new cardinal.
Yeah, because you don't even need to be a priest to be named a cardinal, right?
Of course not. You can be a woman, supposedly.
Oh, wow.
Oh no!
That's what National Catholic Distorter has been pushing for a while.
Well, yeah, they got to. Yes, they love it. They love it. Yeah. By the way, let me plug the National Catholic Distorter. They did a really good article about New Haven, Connecticut, and how the Dominicans are getting thrown out, and the Knights of Columbus won't say anything, and the Archdiocese is really irritated with the Dominicans because they went public with it because they weren't going to have it, and it's totally straight reporting, and you should read it. Don't read anything else because, of course, it's heretical garbage. But that article is actually quite good.
Some of it has good entertainment value.
Yeah.
I mean,
it does, but you know what? Yeah, it does. Especially if you're a Parent Ryan fan, absolutely. which, by the way, I would not only say I'm a fan, I'm a follower. Not officially on Twitter or anything, but I follow his
Parent Ryan.
exploits.
Yeah, Parent Ryan has a lot of followers on Twitter, and
He's the
preaching
Daddy.
the gospel of social justice. And he's been pretty happy about some of the events recently.
Oh,
and
everything's coming up roses for the Parent Ryan of it all.
Yeah, more to celebrate. Well, flamingos, but all right. Well, this has been a good show. Do you have any closing thoughts, Brett?
I wish I did, but I can just blather on forever. So no, I would just say, keep the faith. We're all in God's hands, and that's it. That's it.
Yeah, that was a summary of some people to expect for potential for the next pope, and hopefully you have some ideas as well. Leave a comment in this video.
Absolutely. Yes,
I'm really disappointed that we couldn't get a live stream, because we'd have some people saying stuff, and this would have been really good. But unfortunately, that's learn from your mistakes, and that's what I'm doing. So
all right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching, everyone. We are the laity,
and we will not be silent. Hoo-yah.